So yes, it's been a while. I know. First things first. No, I am not a Real Madrid fan. My allegiances remain the same. This shirt was just free. Second of all, the problem I've been worrying about for basically, I don't know, the last couple of weeks is, oh, my checkpoints, they're not in the right order, and that was screwing up everything because I couldn't trigger the race. Well, that part's solved, and basically whatever stuff you just see up there, right? I'm gonna zoom in. It's basically just this. These 5 lines, it took a couple of weeks for me to get my head around. Annoys me, but I mean, we've got it sorted out now, and I'm not gonna complain. My issue is actually getting the collisions to work. So once I get those working, yippee hooray, I can actually start making maps, doing all the fun stuff.
Why, hello there. Yeah, it has been a couple of months. Reason I've been gone for a while, I've not worked on this. It's like, oh my days, it's November. I have not touched this in months. Reason is, I moved to uni, as you can tell by new background, undone bed. The fact that I look like I'm living in a hotel room, yeah, I moved, so I've done a bunch of stuff during then. I'm gonna be spending a while just slapping that stuff on Obsidian. But of course now, it's time to get back to work now that I've got everything else sorted. See ya. I mean, yeah, sometimes truly not all game dev is fun, but for maybe I'll show you a couple of things in case you're interested and you want to see something. So of course I've still been doing the bug squashing thing, but I think I made a lot of progress. Basically, I got Obsidian, I got a bunch of bugs I'm working on. One of those is start time, but in case you're interested, fun fact for you, your computer doesn't really like measuring time in time, but rather, if you do C#, it uses ticks. And bada, there's 10 million ticks per second because it does it in terms of nanoseconds, microseconds, blah blah blah. Lo and behold, before doing that, I had no idea. Hopefully it'll help you in whatever time stuff you're trying to do too. So obviously I've got a bunch of things. Message changed, added a couple of race started just to help things flow, but yeah, I'm on the workflow using Obsidian a lot more than I did before. To summarize, just like main problems is just getting the game managers to sync across players so that, you know, you race, they race, you actually start at the same time. Obviously my main issue now is once I start the race, that and also just getting this stupid lobby menu to go away. If I do that, I should have fixed almost everything, and then I'll actually be able to start on, obviously, the features I've been trying to get to this whole time. But most of it's boring work, and I've obviously seen from the 45 minutes the first video was, so that was dead, and that's coming from me. I don't want this to be a repeat, so I'll keep it short and snappy from now. So currently I've been watching a couple of YouTube videos. This one in particular on another like Unity game dev. Unfortunately forgot his name. Basically there's like a bunch of like cool like programming principles I've seen, and I'm gonna try re-implement that into what I'm currently working on right now. So obviously it's still the same thing as before. I've not actually done much of it in the process. It's just getting rid of the lobby screen, getting the player to actually load in at the correct spawn point at the same time, and fixing the current issue, which also is everything syncing to one player at this one player. So what that means is when any car completes a lap, it just goes to, it adds to the number of laps completed for the first one. Obviously that's bad, so I'm obviously trying to do something about that. So let's start going through exactly what the issue is. So currently, let's see, right now I have my game manager. Okay, so you can essentially imagine this big boy is just going to be doing basically everything I wanted to do. So obviously right now it's going to be dealing with the settings, so that's one of the key most important things. But also, in my current stage right now, it's also going to be doing the race logic. So in this case, race logic in particular is just going to be the positions of the cars After that, in this case, it's like who's first, who's second, who's third, all of that. Not only just that, it's going to be handling the number of laps. It's also going to be handling the lap times of every car. So remember, each one of these are 1, 2, 3. This is for every car in the game. Obviously, this is something which should work in theory. So obviously, I'm gonna have each car. So this is gonna be like my current situation. So I've got 2 cars, right? So we have car 1 and we have car 2. Obviously, each of them should have, in theory, their own number of laps, their position, and their lap timings. So now my problem is because we're using networking, and unfortunately, when you're doing networking, it never really works right the way you expect it to the first time. Okay, so keeping that in mind, when we come back here, in theory, I should be setting the correct number of laps, lap times, and positions to game manager. So my game manager will basically have 2 bits of data, chunks of data in here. So this one is going to be for the lap times, for instance, and this one's just going to be like their positions and number of laps. So this top bar is going to be for player 1, and that's going to be for player 2. So essentially what's happening is, let's say if my first car goes around and completes a lap, perfect. So then in here, for let's say our number of laps, it goes to +1. And obviously this one is just going to be first. So this is what's essentially happening. Now, my problem is, if I was just to complete the race with car number 1, so we've done 1 lap, we've done 2 laps, okay, perfect. Assuming I've not moved the second car, this will now be second. So now, that's not my issue. My issue now is if we go to car number 2 and we start going around with that, due to issues I'm not fully understanding yet, although not sure, if for each of these lap times I would update, so let's say it was currently 2 minutes before for player 1. What would happen is, as soon as car number 2 completes a lap, it would now increase that time as well, instead of assigning the 1 minute it took to complete a lap here and the 2 minutes it took before. And then instead of before this number 2 being number 2, it would update to number 3, which is wrong. I want it to be 2 laps, but we've only just started to complete the first lap for player 2. So obviously this is the problem we have before. And I suspect that the issue why is because I'm trying to do everything and store it on this game manager. I'm trying to have each of these cars do their thing, but they don't actually store the values themselves. It's actually stored in the game manager. And so this is where my potential solution is going to come in. So I'm going to have a third thing. So what this third thing is going to do is it's going to take all this race logic, positions of cars, number of laps, and lap times, and it's going to handle that. So this is just going to be my race manager. So obviously this race manager is going to need to be unique to lobbies. So obviously, because my game manager will be linked to a lobby manager which is elsewhere, thankfully I've managed to get that working. What I'm essentially going to do is, once my game manager and lobby manager have already communicated to each other to set up a new lobby, so this lobby is going to be where these cars are going to be in. That much is sorted so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a game manager communicate with, so it's going to instantiate a race manager that's going to handle all of these variables, rather than trying to keep it in a pretty robust, pretty fixed, pretty hard to deal with network-wise game manager. So in theory, if I do that and I just keep like this, these problems should be sorted. They can happily communicate with each other. I could maybe even instead of trying to keep it all just on the race manager, I could also try to keep some of the data on the car themselves, and hopefully avoid trying to do what I did before the game manager, which was constantly switch the positions of these stored in an array for positions. So instead of saying, oh, this one's first, this one's second, and constantly rearranging these every time one of them overlaps each other, I could just store them in static arrays, where I've just got, okay, these are the cars, and then I just store next to them in another array their positions. So let's say the first car's second and the other one's first. So this is what I'm going to start working on implementing that, and you'll see me once I've managed to get that done. Yeah, unfortunately you're not going to see that yet in this video. That's going to be the next video because, well, I've already kept you waiting long enough. As I said before, January, this video was supposed to come out like November. So I'm going to currently work on that, and you shall see the updates for that hopefully pretty soon. See ya.